The notion that the mainstream media uses global warming to oppress Christians is a complex and multifaceted issue. To understand this concept, it is essential to examine the potential motivations behind the media's coverage of global warming and its possible impact on Christian communities. Some argue that the media's focus on global warming is merely a ploy to undermine Christian values and promote a secular, liberal agenda. However, others contend that the media's coverage of global warming is a legitimate attempt to raise awareness about a critical environmental issue that affects people of all faiths. One possible argument is that the mainstream media's emphasis on global warming is part of a broader effort to discredit and marginalize Christian perspectives on the environment. Some Christians believe that the Bible teaches a stewardship model of environmentalism, where humans are called to care for and manage the natural world. However, this perspective is often at odds with the more radical environmentalist views that emphasize the need for drastic action to mitigate the effects of climate change. By promoting a secular, science-based approach to environmentalism, the media may be subtly undermining Christian values and promoting a more liberal, progressive worldview. Another argument is that the media's coverage of global warming is designed to create a sense of urgency and fear among the general public, which can be exploited to promote a particular political or social agenda. Some Christians believe that this agenda is inherently anti-Christian, as it often involves the promotion of policies and practices that are contrary to traditional Christian teachings. For example, some environmentalists argue that population growth is a major driver of climate change and that government should take steps to limit population growth through birth control and other measures. However, this perspective is often at odds with Christian teachings on the sanctity of human life and the importance of family and procreation. Furthermore, some Christians argue that the media's focus on global warming is part of a broader effort to promote a global, secular authority that supersedes national sovereignty and traditional values. The idea of a global response to climate change, which is often promoted by the media and other elite institutions, can be seen as a threat to Christian values and traditions. Some Christians believe that this global response will involve the imposition of secular, liberal values on all nations and peoples, regardless of their cultural or religious backgrounds. This can be seen as a form of cultural imperialism, where Western, secular values are imposed on non-Western, non-secular societies. However, it is essential to note that the relationship between the mainstream media, global warming, and Christianity is complex and multifaceted. While some Christians may feel that the media's coverage of global warming is biased or oppressive, others may see it as a legitimate attempt to raise awareness about a critical environmental issue. Many Christians are actively engaged in environmental activism and advocacy and see the issue of global warming as a moral and spiritual imperative. These Christians believe that caring for the environment is a fundamental aspect of their faith, and that the media's coverage of global warming is essential for promoting a more sustainable and equitable world. In conclusion, the idea that the mainstream media uses global warming to oppress Christians is a complex and contested issue. While some Christians may feel that the media's coverage of global warming is biased or oppressive, others may see it as a legitimate attempt to raise awareness about a critical environmental issue. It is essential to approach this issue with nuance and sensitivity, recognizing the diversity of perspectives and experiences within the Christian community. By promoting a more nuanced and balanced understanding of the relationship between the media, global warming, and Christianity, we can work towards a more inclusive and equitable public discourse that respects the values and traditions of all people. Ultimately, the media's coverage of global warming should be seen as an opportunity for Christians to engage in constructive dialogue and advocacy, rather than as a threat to their values and traditions.